Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, once again joined by Zepsi. We both do some contract work for the HBAR Foundation, but we don't do these weekly updates in any official capacity. We're just coming to you personally to give you the latest in the Hedera ecosystem. Welcome, Zep.
How's it going, Brandon?
It's going really good. I do want to say we're doing this again a little bit early this week. We're just going to make these weekly updates. They're not going to be weekend updates. It just fits our schedule a little bit better. I hope we can maintain the traction that we've gotten. Another quick note. None of this is financial advice. We're going to be covering the HBAR market. We're going to be talking about some speculation and rumors. We're going to get into Hedera DeFi. So it's not financial advice. Use it for entertainment or educational purposes only. With that out of the way, the big news this week was LG enabling NFTs or Hedera NFTs on their TVs. So I know last week we covered Walipto. They had a Hedera-enabled wallet that they put out, but now we got some new information. Zep, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean that really caught me off guard. We saw something being teased in the Walipto announcement, i.e., wallet meets crypto converges. And we saw that they had something in the works to really expand on something beyond the wallets. And I think did they say something about IoT sensors or something like that? I can't remember quite what they said. It was nothing nothing that they said in that article predicted this, I don't think. So yeah, to see originally they worked with Hashpack, they did their LG certifications on the HTS service for their employees, and we were like, that's great, that's so cool that they're trying out the Hedera token service. And then obviously that snowballed into Walipto, and then obviously this has been part of a much bigger picture than we anticipated at all. As much as so that Alice in the Spaces yesterday, I think she said it's been sort of a 2-year thing that they've been working on. So
I think it's been 4 years.
Oh, 4 years.
Yeah.
God. 4 years. Okay, so that's that's 4 years. That is a long time. So maybe they're going to start, maybe they're unveiling even more stuff as going on. 4 years is a long time, and they're testing the waters. This is a serious proof of concept almost, but on real world one. This is on the world stage. It's a multi-conglomerate company that have decided to make the venture into NFTs. I think Samsung has as well. So they're remaining competitive there. They've chosen Hedera despite us having lower trading volumes, like it was pointed out in the CoinDesk article. But on the flip side of that, we're carbon negative. We have very low fees. We are beyond trade volume with a best-in-class technology for these NFT solutions, for these tokenized solutions. And even though that article pointed out this, that we have lower trading volume than Ethereum, it's like that would make sense if we weren't on the fine art side of this. So the platform itself, I can go back a bit, is fine art NFTs. They're getting in a guy called Barry X Bull for their first drop, he's a renowned New York sculptor. I think he's done about 30. He's had stuff in about 30 exhibitions. He's got stuff in loads of different museums. He's got a premium on his stuff. He can charge a lot for it. And so they're doing this in a sort of an auction way or sort of release way, in the same way if you had a sort of Christie's or a private art gallery, they'd say this is coming. You get the sort of audience in, they go, right, I'm going to buy this. I'm not. So it's like fine art meets Web3. And they're not targeting the Web3 audience like like my dead pixel behind me. They're targeting more this sort of fine art side that it's been tapped a bit. We saw I think it was Beeple who did that insane Christie's sale. But they're targeting smart TV owners. So the NFT market, the NFT platform they're building is for their LG smart TVs for millions of users across the US. And the chances are that the vast majority of these have no foot in Web3 currently, but they'll log into their TV, they'll see, oh, that's cool. I might have heard of that guy, I might not have, but that's like a really cool piece of background art that I can have in my really lovely, beautiful LG TV when my friends are around, when I'm having drinks or anything like that. So it's a different audience. They're not targeting the Web3 liquidity there, I don't think, like you'd get from Ethereum if you dropped it on, an NFT marketplace, but it's a completely different clientele. So regardless of us not having the same volume as Ethereum on our marketplaces, I think it's like the two you can't really compare the two almost. It's like TV audience outside of Web3, they don't care about volume, they don't care about trading volume. They're either going to buy it, they're either not. But it's the fact they've chosen Hedera is fantastic, a multi-conglomerate, and to see they've chosen us and outwardly spoken about why they chose us is really great to see.
Yeah, you made some great points. I know we did get that CoinDesk article. We've gotten some questionable coverage out of CoinDesk, but I think I would like to see a little bit more journalistic curiosity, maybe, not to bash CoinDesk or anything, but they say the choice of Hedera is not an obvious one. And like you said, they get into the trading volumes. But, I like to go to the source. Why did LG choose Hedera? You just ask them. And actually, I do have a quote from Chris Joe. He's the senior vice president and head of platform business at LG. He says, while many people have heard of NFTs and would like to participate in the growing ecosystem, it can be overly complex and difficult to get started. LG Art Lab is designed to allow millions of users in the US to easily access and display NFTs without having to interact with code or directly with the blockchain themselves. He goes on to say, the Hedera network consumes vastly less energy than any other public ledger, making it an ideal choice for sustainable initiatives and meaning that it can meet the ESG of modern businesses and investors. Users can buy, sell, and display NFTs on the Hedera network without worrying about the high energy consumption associated with other public networks, adding that Hedera guarantees low, predictable fees for users unlike many other decentralized networks. So yeah, that's why LG chose it, because of these good business choices that Hedera has made and then the efficiency of the network.
Yeah, so I mean that, we've said this before that, ESG is at the forefront of every conglomerate, every Fortune 500, every company's agenda at the moment. They have to be, to attract even investment now, they have to have ESG goals at the very forefront of what they're doing. And no one in their right mind is going to choose Ethereum on that scale if you're conscious about your environmental footprint, as someone like LG is, as someone like Samsung is. For them to choose something as environmentally destructive as Ethereum for a proof of concept would be absurd. It's like they're shooting themselves in the foot before they even got out the gates. It's like, it's not feasible. So to see why they chose us, like low predictable fees, carbon negative footprint, we're at the very early stages of what I consider to be sort of mainstream adoption. Lehman spoke about this before, that you want Web3 to be easy enough for your grandmother to be able to operate it. And this is what they're operating. They're offering a system that is no code, which is easy to use, which you don't have to sign into anything with a wallet on well, you do have to have a wallet. Sorry. Because on your like seed phrase and all the stuff on the marketplace online, they're reducing that friction, which is something that currently is prohibitive of mainstream adoption, I think. So to see these, the friction being reduced is great to see. And on the note of CoinDesk, I think, to be fair to the woman that covered it, I think probably what happened is she went onto DApp Radar, and on DApp Radar there is a sort of discrepancy between the true data and what's being reported. Because I think there's just something going on behind the scenes that there's growing pains with sort of bringing in perhaps our smart contracts into their sort of database to track it. I think she probably went on there, saw that Hash Axis was doing well, perhaps didn't see that Zeus Market was doing better, and even then the reporting on Zeus Market is far less than it should be. So I think she got her stats from there, and she should have perhaps she should have delved deeper by talking or seeing what LG said. But either way, at least we got CoinDesk to finally report us.
And I also want to highlight some of the art. This actually came from one of our community members, a very active community member, Jerry. He did a great job. He has an LG TV, and he sent me this video. We also have some of the other art from Barry Ball here and some of the other artists that are working. I just want to show some of this stuff off. It really is beautiful, and they're using these OLED TVs to highlight how beautiful it is. All right, Zeb, did you catch the Scott Melker interview that he did with Mance?
I did indeed. Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. The Wolf. I thought the Wolf of Wall Street. I think it's the Wolf of Wall Street, Scott Melker. For some reason in my head, I didn't think he liked Hedera. And I don't know why. Maybe I had a bad dream one night or something. But it was to see him covering it there and having it was such a strong interview. They're bouncing off each other. He was curious. He was excited about Hedera. He was impressed by DLA Piper's Toko. He was impressed by Atma.io. He was impressed by the idea of an EDF marketplace. Obviously Mance is the best representative we could possibly ask for. And to see him on that platform and for Scott to put out like a very positive tweet as well, like how many people support Hedera here, after this interview, if you don't already, you probably will, kind of thing. That's a very positive terminology. It's not someone, phrase it. It's not someone having their arm twisted to, post a video. It's like someone. It reads like someone who really wants to get our messaging out there. And the questions were good. Some of them were more, as a good interviewer does. Some of them were a bit more invasive than others. But there was never a sense in my mind that they were coming from a bad place. In fact, the opposite. I thought the questions were coming from a very good place of someone who's curious and wanted to learn more. And I think that's telling of what's going on across sort of influencers at the moment, if that's what you address them as. BitBoy, we've seen some other influencers coming in. There seems to be a positive wave coming through. And, the utility bull run, that's what I think we're going to be seeing, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, so the one thing that I honed in on was his discussion on Atma.io. So I'm going to show a quick clip.
Right, we wanted to attract high volume use cases. Atma.io from Avery Dennison, that one product, that one use case is going to drive many, many billions of transactions per year just from the one, right? And that's what's exciting, right? That's something that this industry has never seen. Everybody's kind of talked about, well, what happens when crypto grows up? This is what it looks like.
All right, so it sounds like Mance is still, he is very positive on Atma.io. It seems like it's still coming. I know it's been delayed and we haven't seen it, but like we were talking about with LG, these things take years to develop. So, if they have to delay things a little bit, actually getting on the network, that's kind of to be expected. But I do expect it here before too long. All right, so the next thing we wanted to talk about is we actually have a promo code for our audience. Circle, the company that puts out USDC, has a conference in, is it San Francisco or San Diego? Someplace out there on the West Coast. They have Converge 2022, and if you use the promo code Hedera250, you're going to get those tickets for $250 instead of, I think it's actually $800, and if you use USDC, I think you can get them for $600, but it's still a pretty substantial discount.
Yeah, I think one thing that I thought was really cool, so part of Converge 2022, it seems the main sort of talking point of that gathering is the utility phase of Web3. I think I saw them use those words explicitly. So this feeds into what we literally just said just a second ago. This idea the YouTubers coming on board now for this sort of utility bull run narrative. It's coming from Circle as well. Circle, i.e., one of the leading stablecoins in the world, USDC, the direct competitor to USDT Tether. And for them to actually say this explicitly, the utility phase of Web3, we are the utility phase of Web3. Us, Algorand, I haven't delved that deep into quant, but I saw a lot of people talk about that. But I know there are some big hitters in the Web3 space, which we're at the forefront of, that haven't really had our time in the spotlight yet. And to see, the utility phase of Web3 being addressed like that so specifically, and on top of the discount code, that's also great. But yeah, to see that wording, I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. So the next thing we wanted to cover is, I know there's a lot of smoke around Indian CBDCs. There hasn't been any kind of a confirmation, but I wanted to touch on a few of the topics that people are talking about. The first one was that the Reserve Bank of India is in talks with 4 banks and fintechs for digital currency launch this financial year. So that's coming up pretty soon. One of those fintechs that they were talking about was FIS. And of course, FIS is one of the Hedera council members. I had this quote from Julia Demidova. She is the FIS head of CBDC and digital currency strategy there at FIS. She said, FIS has had various engagements with the RBI. And of course, our connected ecosystem could be extended to the RBI to experiment various CBDC options, whether it is a wholesale or retail CBDC transaction. Our technology can also be extended to commercial banks where they can test and tokenize central bank money in the form of digital regulated money. Now, of course, we don't know if they're going to be working with Hedera or what they're doing, but of course, it's good to have a Hedera council member at the table there. The next one I wanted to talk about is we have 3 council members that are actually in India. We have ITT Madras, we have Wipro, and we have Tata Communications. Recently, ITT Madras put out a paper. It was really extensive, going through the possibilities for a digital rupee. And of course, since they are one of the Hedera council members as well, they mentioned Hedera and how it can possibly be used. The third thing I wanted to touch on came from King Solomon. I saw his video that was very Hedera heavy this week. I've really enjoyed it. He talked about this one article that popped up. Now, to be clear, it mentions that Hashgraph is a technology that has surpassed blockchain, but the author of this one is not a policymaker. He's not with the central bank. He's a veteran cyber law specialist in India, but it's good that we're just getting that kind of coverage over there. Any thoughts on all this?
I need to go through the King Solomon video. I actually terribly haven't watched it yet, but when I do, I'll get back to you privately, definitely.
It's amazing how much he can dig up. But, I just wanted to make it clear that, there is a lot of smoke when it comes to a CBDC in India, possibly something to do with Hedera, but there hasn't been any confirmations. But to continue on with King Solomon and his video, he mentioned something about Ronin X, and they're putting out something called Stramonics, and it's really interesting. One of the things they talk about is this lens to screen, and I'm going to read it directly off their white paper. It says, as it suggests, glass-to-glass streaming transmits high-resolution digital media, including camera metadata in real time from the lenses of the camera to the glass of the user's screen. So this is really exciting. This reminds me of some of the stuff that was going on in the Starling project, but the reason King Solomon brought it up is because further down, they actually talk about Hashgraph. They say Hashgraph, soon to be open source, distributed ledger, which provides a much more efficient type of blockchain, provides an ideal immutable store of truth to hold these answers. The only thing that I wanted to bring up about this is, again, they're talking about Hashgraph. I'm not sure if, because they're talking about it being open source, they're thinking about using Hashgraph in some kind of private way. It really doesn't make sense if you want to find, an immutable source of truth, because you want to have that trusted network of nodes, which Hedera has, which is very hard to start from the ground up. So if they are thinking about using some kind of private version of Hashgraph, I would suggest them taking a look at Hedera and utilizing Hedera. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that there was always that fear when we went open source or announced it, that another ledger would come in and use the Hashgraph. But like you said, what people don't realize is that we've got the trust of that decentralized governing council. We've got the HIPs, the Hedera approval proposals that come in. We've got the best developers for this technology building with us. So it almost doesn't make sense to leverage the Hashgraph outside of Hedera, in a public way anyway. Perhaps on a private, it makes a tiny bit more sense. But I think that worry there is one that doesn't really add up for me, because if you're going to be building on the Hashgraph publicly, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not on Hedera. So yeah, hopefully they'll be with Hedera.
Yeah, again, I don't know what Ronin X is thinking, but it's all about communication. You just have to describe why it does make sense to use Hedera itself. All right, you want to get into some transaction analysis on the Hedera network?
Sure thing.
We'll go ahead and pull up Metrica. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, of course, like each week, is the transaction volume. We are still holding over 1 million transactions per day. Everything's looking good. The smart contracts are holding up at 20,000 transactions per day. I know last week we were up at 44, so we've come down a bit off of that. But I did see a spike not long ago, and most of it was crypto transactions. It was a pretty high spike that we saw there. So it'll be interesting to see where that is actually coming from. I'm not sure where we're seeing it right now, but the transactions after this, as far as crypto transactions, were at a little bit higher level than before that spike. So we'll see what that came from at some point. The time to consensus is sitting at under 5 seconds, so that's staying good. How about account creation? Anything on that?
So I mean, over the last month, we're up 182%, which equates to about 112,000 new accounts being created. So if we keep up the momentum of the last sort of, I don't know, what are we on now? 26. So the last sort of 2 weeks, if we take the average account creation over that 2 weeks and just keep that up for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be, I think, probably the highest month ever of account creation, at least in my history of looking. So yeah, that obviously comes on the coattails of more influencers talking about us, Source Swap taking off. We see on the fungible tokens this week, NAD is going up again, which is Slime World, which is play to earn. They've got over 100,000 accounts associated. We know that Blade Wallet's doing very well. We know that Hashback's obviously doing well. We've seen this news with LG and ANZ and all this stuff. It's everything is adding up for us to get more exposure. And when you add that into this, this utility bull run that I keep coming back to, it seems like more and more eyes, I think, are going to be coming in. They're going to be seeing a burgeoning DeFi ecosystem with great, yields and stuff like that. Not financial advice, But it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting, and I think that's why the accounts are up so much.
Yeah, that's one of the metrics a lot of people look at, and to see that acceleration is good to see. The next thing we wanted to cover is the fungible tokens. Of course, Dovu is still at the top. Last week we had Wrapped HBAR. I didn't get any more information on that. I did touch base with Jesse with Hashport. He's trying to get some more information about what is exactly happening with Wrapped HBAR. We have Swag token. Not sure exactly what's going on with that one, but that one's up toward the top. Not a protocol, which is Slime World, which you mentioned. That one's doing really well. And of course, Sauce is doing pretty good as well. So let's move on to the next topic, DeFi. You touched on DeFi a little bit. We are back over $15 million total value locked, and that's with HBAR under pressure. So we're definitely getting more people depositing on Saucer Swap. All right, as far as the farming rewards, Wrapped HBAR, ETH is sitting at 90%. Wrapped Bitcoin HBAR is sitting at 100%. We have HBAR USDC is at 69%. Sauce HBAR X is at 67%. And HBAR Sauce is sitting at 80%. We've seen some of them come down a little bit, but they've pretty much leveled off for the most part. So we're seeing good returns there. And of course, those are paid out in both Sauce, their native token, as well as HBAR. And that's coming from the HBAR Foundation. As far as the LP rewards, and that comes from the fees that are being generated. We have HBAR X and HBAR sitting at just under 2%. Sauce HBAR is sitting at 3.5%. USDC HBAR sitting at nearly 6%. And those are compounded on top of the rewards you get for farming if you're participating in both of those programs. As far as a stater update, we gave you the updated emissions rates for September in the last episode. Right now, we're sitting at 475 HBAR being emitted each epoch, and that's each day. We have 672 million HBAR total value locked. That's actually gone up over the past few weeks, which I'm impressed with. APY is sitting at 25%, and one HBAR X is worth 1.1669 HBAR. So that's going to continue to go up over time. Any thoughts on DeFi, Zep?
DeFi. Oh, yeah, sorry, before I even got on the call, we saw that Hashport is now interoperable with both Binance Smart Chain and Avalanche. So there's a lot more room for interoperability there between networks. And obviously that can all sort of play its own part. There's a Lego brick in our DeFi ecosystem, and also getting us into theirs, raising awareness. So yeah, that was a big piece of news there, because before, I think the main supported networks were Ethereum. Who else do we have?
Polygon.
Ethereum, Polygon. So yeah, Ethereum, Polygon, and Hedera. So that's two that they've announced at once, which is a big news piece. And yeah, that's just great to see. And we've obviously got HeliSwap, who are in the HeliSwap did a fantastic pitch in your investor pitch yesterday. So yeah, that's going to be coming out in the next couple of days. So yeah, they're a very strong team, and I'm very excited to see them launch. I think they said mid-September. So yeah, a week away.
Yeah, while you brought up the investor pitch, we did that investor pitch just yesterday on Crowdcast. That's where we bring capital allocators that are looking to deploy capital into the Hedera ecosystem together with all the great startups in the space. And as you mentioned, we had HeliSwap on yesterday. They did a great job, and we'll be putting those videos out on the HBAR Foundation YouTube channel on Saturday. I'm sure you'll get a tweet out with all of the different participants. All right, let's jump into the HBAR market. HBAR has underperformed a bit. Bitcoin is down about 4% for the week and is up almost 2% for the day. Compare that to HBAR, which is down 5.5% on the week and up about 0.5% on the day. We're sitting just about 6 cents, which is an area of support. We've seen an area of support between about 5.5 cents and 6 cents. We did jump a little bit off of a spike low that we saw a couple days ago, down to about 5.8 cents. And like I said, we're sitting at about 6 cents now. Hopefully, if we can get a little bit of a rally, the next place we would see resistance is at that 50-day moving average at just about 7 cents. All right, just to give everybody a heads up, this is a seasonal time that we see risk assets under pressure like stocks and, of course, crypto. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see HBAR under pressure in the months to come. But for those that are accumulating, that could be an opportunity. Of course, that's not financial advice. All right, so you already mentioned that we had that pitch event the other day. We're also doing regular Wednesday Twitter Spaces. The last one we had was on stablecoins, and that one was a lot of fun. We'll probably be posting that over the weekend as well on YouTube, so everybody's going to be able to catch up on that. Zep, before we let you go, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, so before getting on the call, actually, I saw that Arkhia, which is the enterprise grade mirror node solution built by BCW Group, actually, they have announced that they're now public, so they're live. If you're a developer, you can go to them. They're going to be basically offering enterprise grade mirror node solution to avoid any sort of congestion, reduce congestion, increase throughput, that kind of stuff. And I think that's going to be a big deal for developers. I'm not a developer, so I don't know how excited I should be. But reading it and having spoken to some other people, it definitely seems that it's a cool piece of infrastructure that's coming in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to what they're going to have. I actually got contacted by Jesse from Hashport, and he was talking about doing a Twitter Spaces with them, and he mentioned something about Google. So I'm not exactly sure right now what that's all about, but if we can get Google on as well as Arkhia, that would be a really good space to for the community to attend. I do want to say that next week I'm going to take the family down to Disney World, so we're not going to be doing the weekly update next week, but please come back and join us in 2 weeks. Drop a like, a comment, and if you haven't, subscribe if you appreciate this content. Zep, thanks again for coming, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.